you know how it is. The more time you spend in the woods, the more you just, understand what the animals do in the terrain, and you can predict without ever walking. Like you can just see up ahead. I bet in that low spot there's going to be a rub line or a scrape. Like you just build up that visual repertoire throughout years and years of scouting, and like that's what I've noticed. Like, because I'm a student of the game, very much like you are. So like I look at all these different people who are successful and like what are they really doing, and like it comes down to two things in my eyes that like successful big buck killers are doing. Number one, they're making it their priority. So like time, like there is no like they're not worried about bass fishing or walleye fishing. Like if they have a weekend to go scouting, people who like this is their life, they dedicate so much time to like learning and figuring it out. And the second thing is like seems like everyone has some little niche that they are just fanatical about. Watching your stuff, like you wind map spots, man. Like you're out there checking the wind, how it flows. Like I've never done that, and I don't plan on doing it because it seems so time consuming and finicky. But like, look at how it's paid off for like the stuff you've done. Like that's fanatical, paid off. Other guys, who focus in on these little niche. Troy Pottinger, you mentioned, it's the scrape wizard, right? Like he has that game dialed. He knows how to do it. He knows how to be successful with it. I'm just like a visual, like rubs. Like that's what I key in on. Like I can look at rubs and like figure out, what time of year they were made, why it was made, where it was in proximity. Like, was this a staging area outside the bedding? Like, I want to know everything about rubs. Like, that's what I key in on. And that big one I killed, like my dad showed me where they fought. Well, there's a rub line heading over this oak ridge and went down into thick stuff. The rubs started to intensify. They looked like really thrashed and rubbed. I'm like, he's coming up here staging on the edge of this thick pine timber before he goes out onto the oaks, probably watching for those rubs like gave it away because like as a visual artist, like I teach drawing and painting, like I'm a visual person. That's what I key in on. Like my fanatical part is like visually seeing the sign and focusing on rubs. So like I don't know, it's like a weird thing, but I just try to pick something up like that from like as many people as I can.
I love the way that you explained it, and that is so true. Like from myself talking to so many successful hunters and being around them, they all have that thing. Like they all, yeah. Number one is always time. Everyone's they're dedicating the time, and then they all have that one thing that they are so serious about, and that they focus on, and they do that, and it's like they can recognize things like my cousin Mason. He's just like so good with his gut, just telling him what a good spot is. Like he can read an area and not even sometimes be able to put it into words, but just like understand like this is where a buck is gonna go. My buddy Johnny Stewart, like Johnny's like he just can visualize how a deer moves through an area, and you see some of his setups, and to the untrained eye, it's like, well, this doesn't have this scrape here. It doesn't have this rub here. It doesn't have this. Why is this your spot? And he's just
Yeah.
like, this feels like the spot that the buck is gonna go through, and this is it just has that component that I've seen bucks do in other places, and it's like everyone's got those things that they just
And then there's
they
there's people, sorry to interrupt you, Bo. There's people who are the exact opposite of that and like who are super analytical. Like I need data. Like, you know what I mean? Like the data driven guys. I can think of a couple guys who are wildly successful and it's all based on like data. And then you have someone like your cousin who's like, this feels like the spot. And like doesn't matter how you do it, you just got to get really good at like whatever thing you're best, like whatever makes sense to you, make that everything, and eventually like it's you're gonna find success if you get good enough at it, right?
Yeah, no, man, that is so true too, and you can repeat those examples across the board of thinking of other people, and like
Yep.
my dad, like I see his process a lot is like he doesn't hunt like a specific thing all the time, but what he does is he still hunts a lot, like still hunting on the ground, and like he that's how he scouts during the season was with bow in hand, and he shot more bucks than not off the ground based
Wow.
off of yeah, and hunting these areas on the ground, and like that's his thing. Like he's and I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm nowhere near where he's at with being able to know when to go fast, know when to go slow, and when to take your time and be able to pick those spots apart. And it's when you look at, and that's why I love like just interviewing people like yourself and others that are like successful hunters, and just like understanding what makes them tick and how they read locations and sign. And it's funny because like not, you're an educator, so you're very good at like being able to articulate your words and be able to teach what you are doing based off your perspective. Not a lot of the big buck killers are able to do that. So it's like, it's like you have to like pull it from, like, I've spent so much time around a lot of people in my family, and I like always am just asking questions, or like it takes a lot of time me actually going in the woods with them and seeing what they're seeing, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is why they're doing it this way, or this is how they're doing it.